Hello, my friends. It is Tuesday, September 10th, and this is your source for Ukraine war news. It's a daily brief. There are 1,380 Russians off the battlefield over the last 24 hours. Only one tank, 19 armored fighting vehicles, 50 artillery systems, 68 vehicles and fuel tanks. As I look at this, I see, okay, 1380 is on the higher side, but it's not inconsistent with the last 3 months or so. What's changed here is that the number of tanks has been remarkably small over the last 2-3 weeks. It's been pretty low. It's been in single digits a lot. As opposed to vehicles and fuel tanks at 68. So something has changed on the battlefield in this, like trying to move out in mass in an armored column and that kind of thing. Not a lot of that has been going on. Okay, last night, Russia attacked Ukraine with missiles and drones, but Ukraine attacked Russia with a huge number of drones, and that's going to be the big story. We'll get to that in just a moment. So here's what happened last night. 38 out of 46 Shahed drones were shot down. Neither of the Iskander or anti-radar missiles were shot down. 3 of the Shaheds left Ukrainian territory, and 3 more were lost, probably because of electronic warfare measures. Now, this is from the British Ministry of Defense. 900 days of war have caused significant damage. Reconstruction is expected to be 486 billion. I've seen figures that are higher. Ukraine is building back. Since 2022, more than 2,000 kilometers of roads, 110 bridges rebuilt. The Ukrainian spirit cannot be destroyed. This is really something. I mean, just the excessive level of damage has been just remarkable. Okay. Andrew Perpetua doesn't have his list out yet. He's working on it. He has a very high number apparently today. But he posted this. It's always been really annoying how Russians have pushed this idiotic narrative that if a Russian is standing there, that means Russia controls it. But now we have Ukrainians acting the same way, like in Kursk or in certain regions around Pokrovsk. If you hold this area, or if you're standing there, you're holding the territory. I will not give specifics because it's an ongoing battle still, but recently there was news of a Russian capture of a position. You had both Ukrainians and Russians claiming Russia captured it, both sides posting images and videos, but apparently nobody told the infantry, who were still manning the positions, doing rotations, evacuating the wounded. But there was a flag on Telegram. Okay, so I say that to say this. You need to check your sources. Now, I spend a lot of time aggregating sources for you, and I try to show you people that are trustworthy or newsworthy sources that are trustworthy, but you got to be a little bit skeptical. Don't just believe me. Watch other sources and triangulate on the facts and see if what we're showing you is true. Now, here's Igor Shushko, another source that I generally trust. Russia, Belgorod residents piled themselves into bomb shelters at the sound of another air raid siren. A whistleblower at the factory that manufactures these structures said that they're built out of recycled concrete without any reinforcements, and they will collapse into a pancake. Now, this was something being blown up here. This is what the shelter looks like, and people are rushing into that shelter. And if that's true, it's not just a story about this story. It's a meta story because it's a metaphor for what is happening writ large throughout Russia, like the scamming, the corruption, the lack of specifications or meeting the specifications about what they're supposed to be doing, and that lack of reinforcements is going to be problems. We don't see that until we see that. So we look at this and we think, oh, well, that's a concrete structure, it'll be fine. But until something bad happens, you don't recognize that there's a problem. Okay, there's no doubt anymore. Russia has advanced and captured the northern part of Vodyane. In the back you can see the coal mine. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can't deny the facts when they're slowly gaining ground, and it's happening, and we have to show both sides of the equation. Meanwhile, a gas pipeline in the Orenburg region of Russia exploded. Jason J. Smart says careless smokers strike again. Well, but we don't know yet. It might be. The facts will come out. We'll find out tomorrow whether this is from a Ukrainian drone strike or something else. Okay, Ukraine using HIMARS to destroy an S-400 Russian air defense system. Every one of these that is put out of commission is one step closer to ending the war. Ukraine carries out one of the biggest drone attacks on Russia since the beginning of the war. Okay, this is the big headline. The bottom line up front, there wasn't a lot of damage. But that they were able to do this was pretty remarkable. And I'll show you where it happened and I'll show you what the effects were. The effects weren't that great. It wasn't that spectacular. However, it was still pretty unnerving to the Russians. Drones attacked the Moscow region. One person was killed. The attack was the largest since the beginning of the war. Ukraine overnight conducted the largest, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, drone attack on the Moscow region. In total, the Air Defense Forces, according to the governor, shot down 14 drones. The Defense Ministry reported the destruction of 20 drones over the Moscow region. A total of 144 drones took part in the attack at night, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And of course, Russia reported shooting down 144 drones, which is it seems improbable that they shot down all of the 144 drones that were sent, but that's what they're reporting. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that the 144 Ukrainian drones were allegedly shot down over the territory of Russia at night in 9 regions, 20 of them in the Moscow region. Okay, now remember, 20 of them in the Moscow region. The governor reported 14, the Ministry of Defense reported 20. Okay, somebody's not accurate. I'm not saying anybody's lying. I'm saying somebody's not accurate. Russia claims large-scale drone attack on Moscow and surrounding regions. 144 drones down, 3 airports closed, and buildings damaged, while Ukraine has yet to comment on the attack. It'll be interesting. Now, this is all the regions where this happened, including Moscow. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when more news comes out about this, because first reports aren't always the most accurate. This is Moscow Today. Now, this is commentary rather than news, what he's reporting here. And by the way, who is saying this? Why am I quoting this particular source? He's a president of the Kyiv School of Economics, Minister of Economy of Ukraine from 2019 to 2020, and a professor at University of Pittsburgh, and he's a pretty intelligent source. Okay. Russian media reports over 20 Ukrainian drones intercepted over the city, although this one wasn't. Okay, so we're seeing a explosion here. This one wasn't, and 144 drones intercepted across Russia. But the key thing is this: Russian official media are no longer downplaying these attacks. They can't ignore them. So you can say things were shot down, but if actual targets were hit, makes you go, maybe something's not quite what they were saying. In an effort to shoot down Ukrainian drones, Russia also aided Ukraine by hitting other targets accidentally in the process. Moscow air defenses succeeded in bombing residential buildings in the past few hours. Well, bombing might not be the right word. It's more like they were hitting other things while trying to shoot down drones, but okay. High rises in Moscow. So you can see some of the damage here. High rises in Moscow were downed, misdirected, drones crashed. Initially, the Moscow regional authorities claimed that a 9-year-old child had died, but then refuted their own claim and said a woman, 46, allegedly died and 3 more locals were injured. I would imagine that somebody was hurt in all of this, and that just stands to reason given what we're seeing here with the damage. These are from the shot down drones, misdirected drones, and okay. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't shot down. They were probably going after something other than that high rise. And there were some targets like a flight school or something, or flight institute or something near the airport. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that the attacks on residential buildings in Russia cannot be associated with military actions. He emphasized that the Kyiv regime continues to show its hostile nature. Really? The Kyiv regime shows its hostile nature, labeling them as enemies, according to, well, I mean, after $400 billion worth of damage that you inflicted on them, I think they would think of themselves as enemies. According to Peskov, Russia must continue its special military operation to ensure its security. Okay, how about that? Meanwhile, the Russian Navy has started its Ocean 2024 exercise, Russian Defense Ministry says. The exercises will take place Listen to where it's taking place: in the Pacific and Arctic Oceans, the Mediterranean, the Caspian, and the Baltic Seas, and will end on September 16th. There's one sea that's notably absent for these exercises: more than 400 ships, submarines, and vessels, over 120 airplanes, helicopters, and about 700 pieces of equipment and weapons, as well as more than 90,000 servicemen will take part in the maneuvers. But what sea could be left out? Couldn't be the Black Sea, could it? Because that's where actually a war is taking place, and they're just not willing to risk it. Okay. Instead of 1,000 words, what's left of Vovchansk and Kharkiv? That's the area just between Kharkiv and Russia. This is what it looks like now. That's the consequence. This is why they're enemies. I mean, just let's be honest. If you do this to your neighbor, they might not like you. And then finally, last two things. Day 930 of my 3-day war. How can the world sit by and let Kyiv bomb targets in Moscow like this? I remain master strategist. Finally, last little thing. If you could disarm one nation on Earth to ensure peace, which one would it be? I wonder which one it would be. All right, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.